Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I have a really interesting video about sunlight for you. Although living in the UK, of course, I don't know what that is, but I've done some research to find out. Now in the last video we were looking at vitamin D, which we know is essential to human health and is made in the skin using UVB light. But creating vitamin D is only one effect that sunlight has, so let's have a look at the other effects that it has as well. And I think you're going to be as surprised as I was at some of these. But first let's start with some background. Sunlight is made up of a wide spectrum that includes every colour of visible light, along with infrared and ultraviolet. And our eyes can't see either ultraviolet or infrared. Now we know that as humans we would have evolved spending a lot of time outside in sunlight, and certainly a lot more time than most of us currently do. And as we saw in the last video, spending too much time indoors leads to vitamin D deficiency, which is associated with a wide range of negative health effects, particularly for bone health, immune function, autoimmune conditions, and so on. And it's due to a lack of exposure to UVB. But we also know that sun exposure is widely denounced by the press and various medical associations due to its association for an increased risk of skin cancer. But are there any other benefits other than vitamin D from infrared, visible, and UV light from the sun? I think it's important to first put this into an evolutionary context. The Earth has been bathing in sunlight ever since it formed 4.5 billion years ago. Sunlight and lightning may have formed the first organic molecules, the basic building blocks required for life to begin. And the first life is thought to have emerged 3.8 billion years ago, and to have lived in a sea of organic molecules, and utilised these organic molecules for food and energy. Eventually, cells needed to evolve their own mechanisms for generating energy from sources like geothermal vents or sunlight. The first photosynthetic bacteria evolved later, at more than 3 billion years ago, utilising the sun as their energy source. However, there are some negative consequences to sun exposure. Ultraviolet B radiation can penetrate through the atmosphere and is absorbed by photosensitive molecules like proteins, RNA, and DNA, and due to its high energy causes damage and results in alterations to their structure. In order to prevent this, mechanisms evolved to repair the damaged structures, as well as sunscreens to absorb the UVB radiation in the cell, reducing damage. One of these sunscreens was actually ergosterol, which is the precursor to vitamin D2, and forms vitamin D2 on absorption of UVB light. And so you can see that all the way back to early life on Earth, that life has been using the sun for its own benefit, while trying to protect itself from damage. Sunlight has a very broad spectrum that is made up of higher energy ultraviolet light, like UVA and UVB, with UVB being the higher energy of the two, and then lower energy visible light and infrared light that's lower energy again. The ozone layer protects us from the majority of the UVB light and all of the even higher energy UVC light. The atmosphere also removes some of the UVA, visible, and infrared. UVB is absorbed in the upper layer of skin, or the epidermis, by various macromolecules like RNA, DNA, and proteins, and also generates vitamin D when 7-dehydrocholesterol absorbs it. UVA, on the other hand, penetrates deeper into the skin, through the epidermis and into the layer underneath called the dermis. On the other hand, very little visible and infrared light is absorbed in the epidermis and dermis, and so it can penetrate deeper into the body and interact with deeper tissues with depths of typically millimeters or tens of millimeters. Now let's talk about the negatives of sunlight first, which most of you have probably already heard before. UVA and UVB are high energy and can cause damage to proteins, DNA, and RNA in the cells. And so the skin pigment melanin is made, which acts as an extremely effective sunscreen and antioxidant, protecting the skin. If DNA damage is not repaired, then this increases the risk of cancer development. And so this is, of course, where the advice about avoiding UV light originates, due to damage to cells increasing the cancer risk. UVA that penetrates into the dermis can also damage the collagen, resulting in skin damage and wrinkling. And we know that too much UV light causes sunburn by damaging the skin cells. And so we know that clearly those with lighter skin need to avoid spending too much time in high UV to avoid excessive damage and sunburn. Nothing particularly surprising there. And UV light is also associated with the development of certain eye conditions as well. Okay, but what about the benefits? So I want to start with UV light first. UVB has been shown to produce the feel-good chemicals called endorphins in the skin. In one study, those exposed to tanning beds had significant increases in blood endorphin levels compared to those who didn't use tanning beds. Endorphins are known to provide a feeling of well-being, or a runner's high if you would, as well as pain relief and relaxation, which is one reason why it feels good to be outside in the sun. All cells express genes that are able to keep time, so-called clock genes. When cultured skin cells were exposed to UVB, it significantly changed the expression of two of these clock genes, implying that UV light exposure on the skin may help regulate our circadian rhythm, which is your body's natural clock. UVB also acts through vitamin D, as we saw in my previous video on vitamin D, and this has a wide range of suggested benefits, such as improved bone health, metabolic health, muscle strength, prevention of cancer, improved cardiovascular health, preventing and improving autoimmune diseases like multiple sclerosis, psoriasis, or type 1 diabetes, a protective effect against neurodegenerative diseases, improved fertility, improved mood, improved health for pregnant mother and child, and improved immune function. UV radiation has been found to increase nitric oxide levels, which help dilate the blood vessels, reducing blood pressure, increasing blood flow, and improving cardiovascular function. The drug Viagra acts by increasing the effects of nitric oxide to increase blood flow to help treat erectile dysfunction. Therefore, UVA light acts in some ways like a natural Viagra by increasing nitric oxide levels and improving blood flow. And so maybe sunlight is actually a better treatment for erectile dysfunction than a pharmaceutical drug. Just a thought. On top of that, UV light exposure has been seen to significantly increase sex hormones and libido, particularly for irradiation of the genital region, with irradiation of any part of the skin leading to an increase in testosterone, and an even larger increase in testosterone being seen for irradiation of the genitals. Narrowband UVB therapy is known to be a common and effective treatment for psoriasis, and it looks like it may help multiple sclerosis and other autoimmune conditions. And the effects of UVB light were seen to improve multiple sclerosis even without increasing vitamin D levels. And so it looks like UVB can help autoimmune conditions through vitamin D, with low vitamin D levels being strongly linked to the development of type 1 diabetes. But there appears to be another mechanism by which UVB light helps autoimmune conditions, without involving vitamin D. And so there is clearly benefits to UVB exposure beyond vitamin D, which also means that you get more benefits from UVB light than you would from a vitamin D supplement. We know that sun exposure in general has been shown to increase the risk of skin cancer, but what is less well known and more surprising is that it actually reduces the risk of all-cause mortality by reducing the death risk of other diseases. So you're more likely to get skin cancer, but less likely to have other health problems, leading to overall lower risk of death, which sounds like a good trade-off to me. And so you can see that UV light by itself has a lot of very important positive effects on the body, and not just negative effects. And I'm sure there's a bunch of other effects that either I haven't mentioned or haven't yet been discovered. Now let's look at visible light. On a typical overcast day near midday, the light intensity is about 1000 to 2000 lux, where lux is a measure of how intense the light is. On a bright sunny day in the shade, the light intensity is 10,000 to 20,000 lux, 10 times bigger. And in bright direct sunlight, it's even higher again at over 100,000 lux. But typical indoor lighting is only tens or hundreds of lux, much, much lower than being outside on a bright day. And so being inside means you'll be exposed to far lower levels of visible light. A lack of exposure to bright visible light is associated with depression and can cause seasonal affective disorder. Blue light that is absorbed in the back of the eye regulates our circadian rhythm, and bright light therapy in the morning has been shown to be an effective treatment for seasonal affective disorder by addressing this lack of bright light. Bright light also increases the production of the neurotransmitter serotonin, which may improve mood and influences the production of the sleep hormone melatonin. Therefore, bright light in the day can also improve sleep at night. And as I alluded to earlier, it regulates the circadian rhythm, which regulates key aspects of cell growth, repair, and metabolism, and is therefore important for ensuring your cells, and by extension your entire body, are functioning correctly. Sunlight, particularly the blue and ultraviolet component, has been shown to have antibacterial properties, and treatment with blue light therapy has been shown to greatly improve outbreaks of acne. Blue light has also been shown to significantly improve wound healing in studies on rats. Being outside in bright outdoor light also seems to reduce the risk of developing short-sightedness in children. And so you can see that bright visible light, particularly into the eyes, is important for the proper functioning of our bodies. Let's now look at red and infrared. Soon after the discovery of lasers in the 1960s, Andre Mester, while testing the safety of lasers on mice, noticed that applying light from a red helium neon laser to shaven mice increased their hair growth. It could also stimulate faster wound healing. This discovery, which is called photobiomodulation, uses low levels of red and near-infrared light from light sources like lasers or LEDs, and has developed into a therapeutic procedure in humans, sometimes called red light therapy. Photobiomodulation can be used to reduce inflammation, edema or swelling, chronic joint problems like arthritis, as well as to promote healing of wounds and deeper tissues like bones, tendons and nerves, or treat neurological disorders and chronic pain. The exact mechanisms for these effects by red and near-infrared light is still not well understood, but it seems that red and infrared light may interact with certain light-sensitive molecules in human cells. The infrared light is thought to interact with light-sensitive calcium ion channels, allowing calcium ions into the cells, and the calcium ions then interact with other molecules in the cell and act as signaling molecules, changing the gene expression and behavior of the cells. The red light is thought to interact with a light-sensitive enzyme called cytochrome C oxidase, located in the mitochondria, which are the powerhouse of the cell and produce most of the cell's energy. And through this interaction, increases the levels of ATP, or adenosine triphosphate, which is the energy currency used by cells, as well as generating nitric oxide and reactive oxygen species. All of this activates different signaling pathways, which induces changes in the cells and provides the cells with more energy by providing them with more of this adenosine triphosphate. And so red and near-infrared light is able to change the behavior of cells, leading to these positive health effects, and this effect is seen at levels similar to or higher than that of direct sunlight, but over a smaller area of the body. This has also led to some researchers suggesting that the benefits of sunlight are not only due to aspects of the UV like vitamin D, but could be largely due to the effects of the red and infrared, with photobiomodulation being used by athletes to improve exercise performance and muscle recovery. And it has also been shown to promote wound healing even when not applied directly to the wound, but instead applied to other parts of the body. There is also evidence to suggest that it helps to treat pain, eye problems like age-related macular degeneration, cardiovascular disease, cancer, brain diseases, autoimmune diseases, and allergies. One of the main uses for red light therapy is in improving skin appearance, and has been shown to improve skin appearance and reverse the signs of skin aging, visibly improving wrinkles and other signs of aging with 2 treatments per week over 15 weeks for a total of 30 treatments in one study. Far infrared light may also contribute to the benefits of sunlight and improve cardiovascular health, although these benefits may just be from the light heating up the body, similar to the effects of going to a sauna. Okay, so it looks like there's a wide range of benefits in sunlight that come from different parts of the spectrum. And maybe this isn't too surprising, as our ancestors dating all the way back to early life on Earth would have evolved being constantly exposed to sunlight. And so it makes sense that our bodies have evolved to make use of that sunlight, while trying to minimize the downsides like UV damage. And we can also see that what would be normal everyday exposure to sunlight for our hunter-gatherer ancestors nearer to the equator has become the basis of multiple different therapies using different parts of the sun spectrum, including UV therapy, blue light therapy, visible light therapy, and red and near-infrared therapy. But of course, being outside in bright sunlight, our ancestors would be exposed to all of these wavelengths every day. And so we're really just trying to replicate different parts of the sun spectrum. And I think what this clearly shows is that because we evolved outside, we need a good amount of sun exposure for optimal health. So we need UV light, which gives a bunch of benefits beyond just vitamin D, but not too much that we get sunburnt. We need lots of visible light in the daytime, and we also need red and infrared light for those beneficial effects of photobiomodulation. And so the UV light generates endorphins, vitamin D improves circulation and improves hormone levels. The visible light is needed to regulate our circadian rhythms and ensure we're awake and happy in the day, and we can sleep properly at night. And the red and near-infrared light performs this photobiomodulation, which reduces inflammation and improves healing. One paper also found that exposing skin to red light therapy from red LEDs has a sun protective effect equivalent to an SPF 15 sun cream. This implies that exposure to red and infrared light in the morning when the UV is low, but the visible and infrared is high, can give a protective effect against the noon sun when the UV is much higher. And so it appears maybe as humans we should be following the cycle of the day getting bright visible infrared light in the morning when the UV is low, getting higher UV around midday, and then maybe getting more bright visible and infrared light before sunset when the UV is low again. Alright guys, that just about does it for this video. Hope I've convinced you all that the benefits of sunlight really do outweigh the negatives, and so I hope you'll join me in getting some sun, and then hopefully we'll be happier and healthier for it. If you liked the video and you learned something new, then please do the usual YouTube stuff of liking, commenting, sharing, and subscribing. And if you want to support me for more content like this, then you can do so via PayPal or buy me a coffee. Links in the description below.